Well, hello everybody. This is Larry Kirchner coming to you live from the Darkness Haunted House. And look at this big old animation up here. Now, somebody asked me on YouTube, what is the best ways to get started in the haunted house industry? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And more specifically, my focus has always been on helping people who are already in the haunted house industry. So we'll go over some tips on how to grow your business, so you can go from, there's old saying, small potatoes, small fry, to a big old jumbo baked potato. Okay? Or, just in general, how to get started in the haunted house business or build your business faster. So we'll talk about that right now. However, we are having a haunted house tour here at the Darkness. And we do want to have you come. It's here in St. Louis. We want you to come to the Transworld Show. It's here in St. Louis. It's happens every year. So if you're watching this video down the road, you can go to haashow.com. And the Darkness Haunt Tour is, you can get the tickets at darkness.fearticket.com. And one of the tours we do is a behind the scenes tour. So look at this big old monster right here. He's pretty cool, right? He's pretty creepy. He's a pre-show monster. So we programmed him, we bought the animation and reprogrammed him to say the things that we wanted him to say. And this is like our cue line. And what we've been focusing on here with the renovation that we're doing currently is renovating this area. Now, look at these Bonnies. We're just kind of throwing them everywhere at the moment. And look, you're not gonna believe this, but this is a material called, that you buy, and you spread it on here, and then it kind of dries where you can kind of go in and carve it, and then you can kind of make it, and it's called, golly, I can't believe I forgot what it's called. And we have bags of it. I have a problem remembering things, like I have a problem remembering names, numbers. Just call me Joe Biden. But before this video is over, I'm gonna show you a bag of it. But today's topic is what I just said. And when people come to the Darkness Haunted House, they kind of marvel in all the big props, all the big animations, all the cool sets, like that big animation over there. There's just animations and props everywhere. And when they come, they literally say to themselves, like, holy cow, how did you get so many props? How'd you get so many animations? And how did your haunt get so cool? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And by the way, we've been adding props every day as we go, and we're going to be putting an animation in that corner. And the thing, we got to get lights behind these pieces of vacuum foam that glow. And then of course we got all the CGIs everywhere, and it's just like so much detail. Look at this. Doesn't she look real? And you know what I really like about hanging these in here is that, see, people will be walking past them all the time. So they're going to be like moving all the time. Every time you come in here, they'll be moving, which I think is scary, to be honest with you. because they'll always be moving. And I think we need to add another one, you know, right about here. We need to add another one. No, there's Nick. What are you doing, Nick?
Gotta get my drill for that.
He's got to get his drill. And we got to move a prop in, right?
Yeah.
Now, and I think I talked about this in another video. Oh, Nick, look what's over here on the floor. An animation piece right there. You must have dropped it. Oh, and look what else you dropped, Nick. You see this? This is enemy number 1. Do you see what that is? What is that, Nick?
It's a...
And what is this? And what is this? Do you see that? And look at that.
What about that?
What? A cigarette butt?
Yeah.
Oh, that is going to get... Okay. Anyway, can you grab those for me? Yeah, that is going... Oh, here's another one over here. Look at that. Can you grab that one? And there's another one.
Is that the biggest enemy?
Oh my God, I am absolutely gonna freaking murder somebody. And then, hey, look what you left in here, Nick. Oh, damn it. I just hit my head on something. Oh, there's 2 more screws. And then you left this. Anyway. So anyway, I'm coming back in the darkness, and one of the things that I really like about this section here is we made an entire section of nothing but caskets. There's caskets overhead, there's caskets everywhere. Did I step on another screw? I mean, they're everywhere. And whenever you're building your haunted house, that's one of the things that you have to really focus in on, is not only finding screws on the ground, which I'm looking for them, trust me. I'm looking for them everywhere. But do you see how these caskets here, we screwed bodies into them. So sometimes those screws could poke through the back of these and see you. Oh, Nick! Nick! Hey, Nick! Look at this. You see that? Screw sticking out there. Screw sticking out there. Isn't that something? Okay. This is no bueno. Now, you know what's freaky? When I walked over here, I saw that guy. That freaked me out for a second there. I thought, who the hell is standing over there? Jeez, this is getting crazy. So one of the things that I do quite often, and look at this. There's another screw sticking out right there. Now, this thing is screwed into there. That doesn't matter. Somebody might put their hand there. You never know. So whenever you're building a haunted house, you have to literally come in here and you've got to check everything. Now, you know what? A lot of times people won't think to check these walls inside of a scare box kind of area, which is where I'm at here. But what about your actors? You're saying they can't get hurt? Well, they can. You've got to check everywhere when you build a new section where you're screwing stuff in the wall, and you got to check for screws. And look at that. I found 3 of them already, and I found at least a dozen on the floor. So, with that being said, let's get on to today's topic. And before we do, go to the darkness.fearticket.com. The Darkness is going to have 2 tours, with the Lemp having 1 as well. And that happens not every year at Transworld, but most. So if you're watching this video and the Transworld Show is over, and hopefully if you're watching this video after the Transworld Show is over, you can enjoy here at the Haunt World channel all the videos that we made about Transworld. And you know what's an interesting take when I go to the Transworld Show? You know, I'm a haunt owner. We have some of the biggest haunts in the entire United States. So we have a different perspective when we cover the show and we film the show, because we are also a buyer of these kinds of products, and we know when we see something that's really cool, so we'll be covering it, and we'll be just kind of looking out to see if something new, something that makes me go, wow. It hasn't happened at the show the last few years, I can tell you that. It's a lot of the same stuff. So this year we're hoping, because I hear that there's going to be some new animation companies coming, and I think that's going to be fantastic. But with that being said, let's talk about the topic for today, which is, how do I grow my haunted house quicker, or how do I get started in the haunted house business? These are questions to ponder that would take a lot longer than one measly 20-minute or 30-minute video. And I'm going to tell you something that when I got into the haunted house business, and I'm going to tell everybody how I got into the haunted house business. I started my first haunted house when I was in 4th grade, and we built it in the basement of a duplex. We used blankets for walls, and that was the maze, blankets, and we charged 25 cents to get in, and we did. We had some customers, and then of course we were all actors, obviously, and I remember one of the scenes we built was the Invisible Man, and we did that with string, and putting like a hat here, and whatever, to like an Invisible Man is holding things or wearing stuff or whatever. So, but anyway, when I got to be in 5th grade, I moved to Houston, Texas. I think it was 5th grade. Yeah, I guess it was 5th grade. And I talked because, and here's going to be your first tip. I talked the apartment manager into letting me and some of my friends turn they had, like, in the center of the apartment complex, they had like a center for the apartment, so you could have like an event there. They would have events. That's where the pool was, stuff like that. So I talked them into letting us turn that into a haunted house. And do you know where I got ideas for this haunted house? In the library. They had books on how to build a haunted house, I swear to God. And it showed how, like, you could take a wall and you could put brooms on both sides so you could go through the wall. And then you would paint that, the straw parts of the broom like bricks by literally taking, say, the shape of a brick and painting it on there. And it had, like, of course, the head and a table and things of this nature. And I was able to check this book out of my high school library. Believe it or not, it's true. And I remember going to a flea market and buying a furry purse. And there was this guy who lived in the apartment complex, was good at sewing. Go figure. And he sewed that into a Wolfman costume. And I remember one of the scenes was a dead guy laying on a couch, and he was full of spaghetti, in his stomach. And I was a werewolf, and I jumped over there, and I was like eating the spaghetti. And then I remember, like, you kind of like went around the pool table, and then you went through a room where there was a bathroom, and we had a guy hiding in the cabinets. So when you walk past, he, opened the cabinets and scared people. But this was the haunted house. And then we moved into a subdivision. And I talked the subdivision. They had a pool that also had a big room where you could rent it for parties and stuff like that. And every year they would build a haunted house, and every year I would go there and I would help them build it. And I would also get in the costume contest, where I would always be the same character, Dracula. And I like Dracula, I like Wolfman, I like Creature from Black Lagoon. From a horror icon standpoint, my favorite horror icons will always be Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula, Mummy, Creature from Black Lagoon, I'm not a big fan of the Invisible Man, but Dracula, loved Christopher Lee as Dracula, Bela Lugosi. I even liked what is his name, Frank, whatever. He was in that Dracula movie, 1979-ish. What's that guy? Frank Langella, maybe? Was that it? One of my favorite movies was Super Lady Lemora, a supernatural vampire tale. I just was fascinated with all of these things. And so here's your first tip. Oh, I know what it's called now, and that's even without seeing the box. Buddy Rhodes. I just remembered it, and there it is. Buddy Rhodes Concrete Products. See, BuddyRhodes.com. There you go. So, here's your first tip to becoming a better haunter or getting a haunt started. I am literally in 4th grade, and I'm talking apartment complex managers, okay, into doing something that they never thought they would ever want done. I'm in 5th grade. I do the same thing. I'm in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. I'm helping the apartment complex, not the apartment, but my subdivision, put on haunted houses. And they were much graduated then. We would make walls out of black plastic. Okay. And of course you'd have the famous head in a table scene and so on and so forth, and a coffin that we would build, and somebody would jump out of it. And you know, this was like the time of my life. And I trick-or-treated till I was at least 16, I think was the last year I trick-or-treated. And the favorite experiences with my kids, and there was many, was taking my kids trick-or-treating. I never ran the haunted house. Thankfully, Patty recognized how important it was to me to take the kids trick-or-treating, and the fact that we needed some people at the haunts, which Patty did, and she let me take the kids trick-or-treating, and I took them trick-or-treating. I tried to find the best subdivision with the most houses crammed together, and I know all the secrets to getting the most candy. Trust me, I know them all. And so anyway, here's the point. That you can't be worried about people who are, you know, talk down to you or tell you can't do something. You know, that just motivates me even more. If you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to show you that I can. But you have to be a salesman. You got to be able to go in there and sell them on you. So I can tell you from my standpoint, when I built my first professional haunted house, it was an existing haunt. I literally went to the owner and point blank asked him if I could renovate his haunt. I told him I was a haunted house designer, which there was no such thing back in like, what that would have been like 1988, 89, when I did my first one. And we built all the walls out of pallets. And I remember the next year we decided we would build them out of plywood, and we had a bonfire with the pallets, and I noticed how fast they burnt. And that was my first experience, like thinking about safety. Because when I saw the pallets burn and burn fast, it made me realize, holy cow, those things are flammable. Pallets are, and very flammable. And so, you know, you have to start taking into consideration that just because you can build a haunted house out of black plastic or pallets or something like this, doesn't mean you should. Doesn't mean you should. So, but here's rule number one for an existing haunt or somebody trying to get in the haunted house business. You've got to be aggressive, okay? As the Joker said in the Batman movie, you know, aggressive expansion, okay? You've got to always be thinking that you can do it. And if you don't believe it, then how can you convince somebody to let you lease their space, loan you money, invest in you, partner with you? If you don't believe it and you can't sell it, you're not going to get anywhere. And even when you do build your haunted house, how in the heck are you going to pay all that money back if you can't sell your haunted house? So I really have a problem, personally, with all the bozos online, and they are flat out bozos. They're peanut butter and jealous, okay, because you're doing it and they're not. They think you're doing it all wrong, but they're not doing anything. So I really don't give a crap what they think, okay? You know, go jump in a lake as far as I'm concerned. Don't care, okay? Talk all you want. You can talk while I'm doing it. So if you're gonna do it, you got to make it happen. And yes, you might break a few eggs, but you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, as the old saying goes. So you can't be afraid to make some mistakes. You can't be afraid to, believe in yourself, sell your attraction when it's done. I mean, think about it. One of the things, everybody in this industry says, we're the scariest haunted house in St. Louis. We're the scariest haunted house in America. We're rated the best. We're voted the best. Who voted you and who rated you? We don't know. But it doesn't matter. If you believe it and you believe in what you're doing, then what does it matter? So when you're trying to start your own haunted house, or you're trying to grow your haunted house, you've got to be willing to sell it. If you're going to go to a bank and borrow money, or you're going to the SBA and and you're saying, oh, I'm going to borrow all this money to build a haunted house, they're going to laugh you right out of there. You got to be ready to sell them on it. You got to have facts, you got to have figures, you got to have projections, and you've got to have your ammo in the machine gun. And if you can't convince them, you're not going to get anywhere. And if you can't convince the public that your haunted house is worth paying $25, $35, $40 for, you're not going to make it. So you have to be very confident. And here's tip number 2. That you have to remember that you want to build a haunted house because, as I shared my story, you built a haunted house when you were in 4th grade. You love Universal monsters, whatever. Doesn't matter. That's all fine and dandy. But here's tip number 2. You have to be able to build this attraction. You've got to have a plan. You've got to have a location. You've got to have funds. You have to have all of these things. And do you know what all these things have in common? They're business related. You have to understand how you're going to market this attraction. You got to understand how you're going to fund it. You got to understand, like, how much money do I need to, say, not only build the attraction, but how much money do I need for insurance? How much money do I need for porta potties? Oh, wait, I didn't even think about that. I'm saying you didn't think about it, okay? You didn't think about security. Oh, I got to have police maybe work here, okay? Because sometimes haunted house customers can get kind of rowdy. You've got to be thinking this through as a business person, not as a passion project. If you have an existing haunted house, you can buy all these cool props, you see, and you see all them cool props over there. They're everywhere in here, okay? And you can have all these props and all these animations. You can have all this stuff. But that doesn't get anybody in the door. I can tell you, you can go to the Transworld Show, you can buy every prop you see, and it will not make you a cent. It will not pay your bills. It will not get you another person in the door. You have to approach a haunted house first as business. It's a business. It's not my passion. It's not my dream. It's a business. Because you have to make money to run a business. You have to get a good team behind you. You can't do this alone. When you first start and you run this business like I did, you do everything. I painted, I hung cobwebs, I recorded sound. I mean, I literally did it 24 hours a day. I built walls, I built scenes, I did everything. And then I literally would go to high school football games and flyer the parking lots, okay? I would go to events and I would hand out flyers. I would go to the mall and hand out flyers. It's do whatever it takes. And this is tip number 3. If you're going to open a haunted house, if you're going to open any business, it's, there's an old saying, it's God, country, and family, like in that order, right? Or it's God, family, and country. However, it's like in that order. When you're going to run your own business, your business has to come first. It has to come first before your family, okay? Because you have to understand that your family is going to be in a lot of trouble if you spend all your money and the business fails. Okay, so the business becomes the top priority because your family really is your top priority, right? And so if you're taking a business first approach, then you're thinking about your family first. Does this make sense? So you're doing it as a business for your family because you want to take care of your family. So that means you got to put the business first. That means sometimes you're going to work 24 hours a day. You're going to sleep on the floor. You're going to sleep on a big old pile of plywood. You're going to do whatever it takes to make this business work. And I can tell you that most businesses can't succeed if you don't understand every aspect of it. So that means you got to understand online ticketing. You got to understand social media. You got to understand digital marketing. You've got to understand all the things that need to be done to pass an inspection. That means you got to have, let's say in this building, you got to have a sprinkler system. You got to have emergency exits. You got to have all your electric and conduit. You got to have a security system that goes to the fire department in case something happens. You got to have smoke detectors. There's a laundry list of things that you need to understand. You have to be able to talk to your city officials. You have to be able to understand all of the safety features. You got to be able to understand when you're walking through and you see things that could hurt people. Safety. You've got to understand how to market, okay? You've got to understand all of it. This is all so important. How much should you charge? How much do you need to charge to make this work? How much can you pay your staff? How much can you pay the actors? All of this has got to be business first. You've got to have a business plan. You've got to know exactly everything you're getting yourself into before you do it. Before you just start thinking, I'm going to rent this space, and you have no idea what everything is going to cost, you're going to hurt your family. That's why the business has got to come first. You got to put everything into it, and you've got to be so committed to it that, like, hey, this is keeping me, so you got the death penalty, and you're filing appeals, okay, and you're trying to stay out of the electric chair, okay? Your life is in the balance, okay? So you got to do whatever it takes, okay? And that means if you've got to miss some big event, you can't go to this concert, you can't go skiing, whatever it is, you got to do whatever it takes to get this business open and do it the right way. That is what it takes. If you are 1 foot in and 1 foot out, this business is going to kill you. It's going to just soak you up like a sponge, and and it's going to be wrung out into the sink. Okay, that's what's going to happen. You have to be successful. You have to run it like a business. So yes, you have a lot of passion. That's why you want to do it, but passion doesn't pay the bills. I'm sorry. So I had some people come up to me and ask me point blank, You know, all you do is talk about business and making money. Larry, it's disappointing. I thought you cared about your haunted house. I thought you had a passion for Halloween. Of course I do. Have you seen all the props in here? Do you realize how many Lamborghinis I could buy? Do you realize how many lake houses I could buy? Do you realize how many boats I could buy? Obviously, I have a passion for it to a fault. It's like a curse. I say that all haunt owners, okay, are having like an addiction. It's like being addicted to drugs. They can't help themselves. They want to buy props. They want to buy cool stuff. They want to get more whatever. And they literally just rinse and repeat this and then next thing you know, they're 70 years old. Okay, and they have nothing in the retirement, account. Okay, at some point you have to realize it's a business, and I have to grow the business. I've got to expand the business, and to do that, I've got to get better at accounting. I got to understand that really a lot better. I got to understand safety. I got to understand, how to throughput this attraction, and I've got to understand all of the little things that's going to add up and cost a lot of money. For example, security, okay, staffing. There's so many little details, that you just don't think about. Okay, hey, wait, we're going to open this haunted house and I have no radios. I didn't think about that. Okay, and should I get cheap ones at Walmart or should I get really good ones? Well, you're going to get really good ones. How many do you need? Well, I probably need about 20 of them. Because communication when you're operating your haunted house is very important. So, wait a minute. Those radios cost like $400 a piece, $500 a piece. I didn't think of that. Well, because you didn't make it a business first business. So you've got to put the business side before the passion for it. And then once you put the business side first, you'll start to understand that you can buy more props and start to live out that fantasy of like, I would love to build this scene. I would love to buy that prop. Well, see, now you can. And then you could also afford to keep good people around you to help you grow the business. Now, whenever you're trying to get in the haunted house business, obviously you've got to have a good location. I do think that haunted houses are destination attractions, which means that people will drive farther for them. Now, if you're a gas station, you're going to go to the one that's closest to you. So you're not going to skip over 80 gas stations just to go to a gas station. Does that make sense? So you really got to have, location isn't everything, but I can tell you that you don't want to get a location that's in a bad neighborhood because people won't go. Just because you find a great, scary building, but it's like in an area that people don't want to travel to, you got to know the market you're going into. You got to know where you think people will go and where they won't. Obviously, when you're looking for a location, you're not necessarily looking for the scariest location because you're going to build the haunted house in the space. If you're on a farm, obviously you would like to have a hayride and maybe some haunted houses, an interactive queue line. If you're building a haunted house inside of an old warehouse, then you're looking to fabricate everything from scratch. The cheapest haunted house to build and make look cool would be like a forest, like where you're going to go in a forest. That would be the obvious, cheapest one to do because you could go around and buy a bunch of old farm equipment. You could build some old cabins and things like that. When you think about Jason, for example, Camp Crystal Lake, it's some cabins running around through the woods, some canoes. I mean, you could buy an RV. There's all kinds of stuff you could buy and scatter all over the place, and it would look pretty cool. So a haunted forest would by far be the cheapest haunt you could build, by far. Whenever you're going to do a screen park, that's something that you just develop over time. So you want to start with let's say you're going to do a hayride. You're going to put most of the effort into the hayride. Maybe you're going to add a couple haunts, and then you're going to expand the hayride, make it bigger and better. And you're going to maybe add another haunt, and a midway, and you're just going to keep growing it. And it's going to take like a decade. unless you've got a lot of money and you can hire a lot of people to help you. If you're in an old building, the best way to get started is to do all the infrastructure first. So in other words, if I had a building, the first thing I would want to do is put all the electric in. I would want to put all the heat detection in. I would want to put all the emergency lights up. And you're probably thinking, well, how can you do that? Well, you put them in the ceiling. That's why. You could put all the electric in as well. You can have it in the conduit, Romax, whatever you want to call it, and then zip tie it up into the rafters. And then when you get your maze in, you can clip it and bring it down to the tops of the maze, for example. I would make sure that all my overhead lighting, so I can see, was in. That my sprinkler system was a pass inspection. I would also, the next thing I would do is, like, you're going to need panic doors and things like this. I would put all those in first. So all that stuff I would do first because it's easier, okay? Because you don't want to move ladders around through a maze to do all that stuff. So they could bring scaffolding in, right? And then they can just roll the scaffolding and get it all done. And that would be the absolute fastest way to get the space ready. Okay, you could almost literally pass an inspection on that stuff alone. But it will be cheaper if you do all that stuff first. Okay, once you have, and now what you could be doing simultaneously is building all the walls for the mazes. You could be doing that at the same time and just piling them up. So it's not like you're sitting around doing nothing. Okay, and then once all that stuff is done, you can start putting your maze together, and then you can start building your scenes and so on and so forth. Now, I will tell you, if you're trying to get started from scratch, that once you know that you have a location and that you're fully funded and you're absolutely doing this, I will tell you that buying a bunch of animations and props is expensive and it adds up quick and fast. So if I was on a limited budget, what I would do first is I would just focus on costumes and masks, because a good haunted house can be, the best haunted house can be just actor driven. You don't need a lot of fake stuff to have a great haunt. So obviously, if you were doing any theme where it was more mansion-esque, like, so even in like a hospital, there's places that sell a lot of that used equipment, and you could buy a lot of it really fast and populate the maze. A haunted mansion. When you think about a haunted mansion, do me a favor, close your eyes with me. Close your eyes and just imagine, what is the scariest haunted mansion you've seen? It's in the woods. You had to like walk like 5 miles through the woods, and then wham, there's this abandoned house, and everything's boarded up, but you know a way to get in. It's through the basement window, and it's broken open. You get in, you're walking around with flashlights, and the boards are creaking and everything else. What you don't see is any fake props. You don't see any fake animations. You might see furniture with sheets over it. You might see old rotted furniture. You might see pots and pans in the kitchen still with rotted food. You might see rats running around. A cat jumps out and scares the hell out of you. Are you getting the picture? Okay. You walk down the cellar and there's a light at the bottom and you're afraid to go down there. You don't know what's in there. Okay. This is scary. Okay. That means you could build a really good haunted house. And this is the next tip I'm going to give you. It's called the foundation. So the most important thing to any good haunted house is a foundation. So a foundation is, when you're building a building, the first thing they do is dig a foundation, okay? That's the first thing that happens with any construction. Of course, it's a blueprint, right? And you want to make a blueprint. And by the way, there's a video, and I'll share a link to it. It's how to build a haunted house from scratch. Watch this video. I made this video several years ago when we were building a haunted house over there in that building, and we documented the whole process of building this haunted house from scratch. Okay, and that video has done really well on YouTube, for my channel anyway. It's over 10,000 views, and it's been fantastic, and there's a lot of great comments, and you should watch that video. But what I'm talking to you is more tip-wise. And so when you're building a building, you pour a foundation first. The whole house, the whole building, whole anything is built on a foundation. So for a haunted house, a foundation is making sure that if you say this is a haunted hospital, make it look like a haunted hospital. You don't need any fake props, okay? Just make sure the costumes and the actors will fit into that space and look like they belong in a haunted hospital, or say it's a haunted mansion. Anything could be running around a haunted mansion, ghouls, zombies, whatever, right? But the foundation of a good haunted house is, let's say you have a haunted mansion. What are the main scenes? A boiler room, a basement, a cellar, a kitchen, a living room, maybe a library, a dining room, a bedroom, whatever, right? We're just going through the list, okay? And so all of those scenes have the proper props, okay? And these are easy to acquire. I'll tell you a really easy haunted house to build. Let's say you have a house of some kind and you have a lot of land. Well, if you did like a farm style, like, there's a great movie called Motel Hell. Where they're literally putting people in the ground, and that's how they're getting the best tasting meat is to cut their throat where they have vocal cord where they can't talk. They put a gunny sack over their head and they stick them in the ground, and that's like, moisturizing their, I don't know, whatever, right? Smoking the meat kind of thing. And then they take them and they cut them up or whatever. But if you were to do like a haunted house, like a barn style, you literally could go out and buy combines and old tractors and wagons. You could buy all this stuff, okay, like all day long, and populate the outside of the haunt. It would be cheap and easy. It would just be running around acquiring stuff. That is what I call the foundation. Get the foundation right, okay? So if it's a haunted mansion, I need a lot of antique furniture. I don't need to buy fake props. Get a good foundation, and then hopefully you've done well with the haunt, and then you can graduate to saying, oh, wouldn't it be great when you're walking, let's say at Transworld, wouldn't it be great to have that and this scene and this and that scene, and we could add this animation over here. Now you're layering the cake. Okay, so if you're gonna bake a cake, you gotta have flour, you gotta have eggs, you gotta have milk or water, right? And you have to have some oil. You mix all that together, you put it in a pan, and you bake a cake. So now you have a cake. Okay, but I want to have another layer to the cake. I want to have icing in between the two layers. And once I get that, I want to put the icing on the top, and then I want to put some coconuts and some sprinkles and maybe a cherry in the middle, whatever. This is just layering the cake. You've got to have the cake first. You've got to have a foundation before you build a building. Does this make sense? And you've got to understand business. So there you go. There is a vlog for you, and hopefully this video has helped you. And I can tell you what else would help you grow a lot faster in the haunted house business. And this is the last tip I'll give you. If you're deciding to get in the haunted business, don't do it at the last minute. Don't like, oh, we're going to start this in the summer. You need to make this a year-long project. You need to say, we're going to start this, and we're going to rent the building, buy the building, whatever, 10 months, 12 months, 11 months from Halloween. And then the first thing you want to do, even though you're building the haunt, is to start a Facebook page, an Instagram, a TikTok, whatever you want to do, a YouTube. And you could literally make teasers. You can make all kinds of things, to like, hey, we're coming. You could literally be advertising year round, like very little, just marketing the fact that this is coming. And you could be building, and you could be giving people updates and little tidbits here and there. And you know what you would do before you start this project? You'd be doing a lot of traveling. Go see haunts. Learn from other haunts. Go see as many as you can. See 10 haunts, 15 haunts, 20. Make it your mission to see as many as you can. You should be traveling all October, seeing as many haunts as you can. And quite frankly, what would be another great thing is if you worked in a haunted house and you got down and dirty, acting, helping repair, whatever. These are great things too, to be at successful haunted houses. When you think about the NFL, and you think about some of the most successful coaches, they coached under Bill Belichick. They coached under Andy Reid. Andy Reid coached under, I think, Dick Vermeil. Dick Vermeil won a Super Bowl long before Andy Reid did. And the list goes on and on and on, okay? So that's called a coaching tree. So it doesn't hurt to work for another haunt, but at the same time, just go in visiting them, introducing yourself to the haunt owners, picking their brains, asking questions. And I can tell you, like, when you're on Facebook and you're in these groups and you're like, don't be the one that thinks you know everything. You need to be the dummy, like the most respectful person. Like, hey, ask questions, okay? Learn from other people. Don't debate with people, just engage with people and try to soak up everything you can. And, you know, I can tell you the worst haunt I've ever seen still had one good idea in it. I'll tell you that right now. So you can learn something from anywhere or anyone. And that's what you should be doing, learning as much as you can. And I can tell you another thing is, like, you get much farther along today because you have things like the internet, you have Facebook, you have YouTube, you have so many things, Amazon.com. Oh my God, I wish we had Amazon.com in 1994 where you just get on and search for something and find it. Or, you know, or even Craigslist or Facebook, and you could find things. You couldn't do any of that back when I started in like 1989. Okay, you had to like literally make it yourself. It was crazy. So anyway, that's my tip. And don't forget, one of the haunts you can visit without waiting for October is the Darkness, March the 7th, 8th, and 9th, right here in St. Louis at the Haunted House Trade Show. That's AJA.com. But you can get tickets for our haunt tour at darkness.fearticket.com. And if you're watching this way after the event has happened, it's a possibility the following year would be the same URL, darkness.fearticket.com. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because we got many, many, many more videos and vlogs coming your way. And we're going to be touring a lot of cool haunts. And I'll be asking a lot of important questions. And you know, another great way to learn how to expand your haunted house faster is subscribe to the Haunt World channel. We've uploaded tons and tons of videos, including all these old Haunt World movies. You can learn a lot just seeing where haunts have started and where they've progressed to. And I can tell you this, that when you're 50 years old, okay, you're not the most physically fit version of yourself. You have to be the smartest version of yourself, okay? The smartest, not the dumbest, the smartest. Because I don't do all the things that I did when I was 25. And so you've got to get yourself in a spot where you're where I'm at when you're 45, because you're learning from all the people that have come before you. So take it for what it's worth, and hopefully you subscribe to the page and we make some more cool videos, and you come and visit the Darkness Haunted House. And don't forget, you can go to Midway's Haunters Convention. They have haunt tours there. Transworld has the Legendary Haunt Tour, and you can go to that. And I think they're doing some sort of haunt show in Philadelphia or something. They're going to tour haunts there as well. By the way, it doesn't hurt too to reach out to the haunts you really want to see and say, hey, I'm going to be in your area. Would you mind if I picked your brain or bought you dinner? Buy these people dinner. You call them up. You're asking them for free advice. Can I buy you dinner? Okay. I would love to see your haunt. No pressure. And don't get mad when they don't give you a tour. People are busy. They got stuff to do. So if they take their time to help you, appreciate it. But don't be afraid to ask. Because if you don't ask, you don't know. Until next time, everybody, happy, I haven't decided on a Makia or whatever for a closing line. So I'll just say happy haunting, and hopefully we'll see you here in St. Louis in just a few weeks. Take care.